Today we are going to be talking about the top 7 penny stocks that will be spiking in May 2019. Now the reason that I could say this confidently and undeniably is because the companies on this list literally tell you the exact date at which price changing events will occur. They do this by releasing FDA approval dates, phase trial data releases, as well as dropping many hits and clues, such as with insider trading activity. Now, I've released a penny stocks of the month video every single month since December, and if you look back at the 30 or so stocks that I've covered, nearly every single one of them has provided the price action that we need to trade off of. Now, with that being said, these are not stocks that you just buy and randomly hold. These are stocks that you buy with a plan to take advantage of the short-term fluctuations. While I do recommend buying these stocks at certain points, your entry and exit points will make or break your position. I know, shocking. But in any case, don't do it alone. If you need any help, we have a bunch of tutorials, links in the description below to get you started on that. And if you have more questions, you can always reach out to us below or on the ZipTrader Circle Facebook group. Anyways, you know a lot of work goes into researching these stocks, and all I ask from you in return for this video is that you hit that beautiful and ravishing like button. And also don't forget to subscribe if you see value in the following video. So PG&X will be presenting their phase 2 and 3 data on May 6th. Now, as we know, phase data presentations can be a beautiful and wonderful time for undervalued positions. By the way, I'm going to be using the Webull broker for this video. It's a commission-free broker that was made specifically for traders, not just beginning investors. If you want to check it out, they are running a promotion right now where if you sign up with our affiliate link below, you will get a free stock. That being said, feel free not to use our link, but I do recommend using a link. Back to PG&X. So fundamentally speaking, for those unfamiliar with the company, PG&X or Progenics Pharma is in the arena of radiopharma companies that are using radiation technology to target and treat specific tumors. Now, we don't need to know much about that specifically, but we do need to know that this is a hot sector in terms of investor speculation. There's a lot of potential profitability. Now, the monkeys are pretty happy with this stock as well. They are rating it at a target price of a little over $10 on average, with the lower end hanging around $6.50, which is still a decent amount of upside. Now, obviously, I don't care much for the analysts' opinions, but this is nice to have because a lot of the sheep investors, these investors that are sheep, will generally feel more protected if the analysts have a higher price target. Since the sheep feel safer, will have safer levels of support and they won't sell out as easily. But moreover, if there's good news and the price starts rising, it'll bring more investors in because people are more confident. So a quick run on the balance sheet. PG&X reported revenue of $3.24 in Q4 of 2018, but despite that, the share price finished that day in the green as investors were left unfazed and bullish on the stock. It was down about 50% in terms of the expectations, but investors remained bullish on the stock. They still believed in the long-term viability of the product. Now, the real bazooka with this stock is 100% on the technical side. We see a huge amount of upward potential in comparison to a relatively low amount of downward potential and honestly a pretty flat price action on the year. That means that if we are seeing confirmation of an uptrend, we potentially have $4 or so of upside and only about $1 of downside. Now, that being said, they are selling a bit too high at the moment. And as you know, for the ideal position, you're going to want to make sure that you are at least getting in at least below fair value on the RSI. Now, the reason for this is because we need to build the largest margin for error as possible so that we can minimize our exposure to risk and maximize the potential for reward. The next one is NVRV. Now, NVRV will have their PDUFA decision, aka their FDA approval decision, on April 30th, 2019. Now, this obviously is not in May, but there is no doubt that we will see some of the effects of this in the first few days of May as well. Now, this drug is for urinary tract infections, and as we know, drugs that make it to this stage in the process have an 80% probability of being passed based on previous statistics released by the FDA. Now, NVRV also has upward potential, all the way to $12, conservatively speaking, and it also has a history of spikeability with massive intraday spikes on positive news events. Monkeys are giving it a price target at about $9.50, but anyways, this should be a big play at the end of April and early May, but since it's technically not in May, I didn't include it in the overall number count for this video. Okay, so OVID will be starting their phase 3 trial this upcoming quarter, but more importantly, we'll be releasing an abstract for it on May 3rd. They will also be presenting their phase 2 data on May 7th. Now, the key with this is that company actions towards potentially lucrative new products tend to stem up some sort of investor excitement, and investors tend to be optimistic at the early stages of trials. At the same time, Ovid had already took a massive hit back in August when they originally revealed the phase 2 data that they are going to be presenting on May 7th. Now, the key with this is that biopharma presentations offer companies that opportunity that they need to spin the phase data in a way that shows future profitability of the underlying asset or the underlying product. In this case, the company can highlight how OV101 demonstrated a statistically significant effect compared to the placebo within that trial. But the key is that presentations tend to be very effective in stemming up investor interest in the short run. And this, combined with another phase trial starting in the second quarter of 2019, will likely lead to the volatility that we need to trade off of. Now, if only we could figure out what the insiders think about the company. Oh heck, Charlie, we can. We have two fairly large acquisitions of more shares from insiders within the company as late as February. These company officers obviously feel that the shares are discounted enough, or they wouldn't be taking a position because they're not required to buy more shares. That being said, this is just one more sign in the right direction. One more thing that I should mention is that every time I make a video on penny stocks, and include ones that have low volume, I get a lot of people that comment and are frustrated with me. A common comment would be like, Charlie, you dumb dog. I don't trade low volume penny stocks. I don't look at low volume penny stocks. I have nothing to do with low volume penny stocks. And I understand that, but what you don't understand is the fact that when these news releases come out, volume goes up substantially. This is because news releases often result in a flood of new investors as well as old investors flooding back into the market. If you'd like more information on volume and why low average volume isn't necessarily bad, I made a video on that I think a couple months ago, and I'll put a link in the description to that. Okay, so ADLX announced their phase 3 initiation back on April 2nd, and they will be presenting the results of the phase 2 data that they did on May 1st for their drug for dry eye syndrome. Now, ADLX meets one of my most important prereqs for biopharma or biotech penny stocks, and that is the spikeability factor. It's extremely important for us to find a previous pattern of spiking, big FDA news events and presentation, because that allows us to get an idea on average of what will happen in future news events, and moreover, how much of a role FDA announcements play in the stock's price action. There's a lot of stocks that have FDA approvals coming up that I don't talk about specifically because they tend not to have as big of a role. That being said, we are also under fair value, which is great, but ideally we'd be able to find a position that's both under fair value and also showing signs of an uptrend. And of course, we always want to get that confirmation. We're not just buying dead dogs on the side of the street. Also, there are some monkeys that really love this stock, even going so far as to set it at a $35 price target. But as we know, monkeys will be monkeys. Now, ACHN will be releasing their phase 2 interim data on May 17th. Now, ACHN handed early investors around a 68% loss, but the stock has consistently been climbing up on the year. And the massive long-term upward potential combined with this consistent uptrend pattern makes me feel extremely hopeful. We have an upward potential from about 293 to 1006 or so, and also that mentioned consistent upward trend pattern, which is great for a stock that has a phase 2 data release coming out mid-May. As we know, shares tend to run in anticipation or in grievance before a major phase data release or FDA results, so this is excellent. PIRS will be releasing their phase 1 initial data on May 22nd. Monkeys are rating them at a $7.50 price target, which is a bit excessive without knowing how the trials will go, but nonetheless they are, especially considering long-term resistance is at $5.85. Nonetheless, we are at oversold, and I'd be watching to see those early warning signs in anticipation, and especially getting closer to announcement day. Phase 1 data releases can be more mild as compared to the later data releases, but sometimes it can bring more attention to the company. Now, EYEN had a successful phase 2 and 3 trial earlier this year, and they will have a detailed data presentation on May 3rd through 7th. Now, these data presentations allow the companies an opportunity to both promote the trial success while also highlighting the points of profitability and how that impacts the overall company going forward. Meanwhile, it also tends to garner a lot of attention in the financial media, at least in the biotech, biopharma part of the financial media, which can bring up the volume and volatility that we look for. But the key here is that we have a successful company presenting about their current success while also having an uptrending pattern. And it's also not too overextended when looking at the relative strength. In fact, we are just barely over fair value. This shows that investors are already aware of the value in this play. But the con with this is that the presentation is going to have less of an effect since the stock price is already factoring in a decent amount of progress. It's also quite thinly traded, but it's worth watching for entry points due to the presentation. So ADAP will be presenting a summary of their phase 1 data on May 2nd. Now, the fun part with ADAP is that a lot of their insiders liquidated the majority of their positions at the beginning of this year, which of course is never a good sign for a company. So with a negative phase data presentation on the 2nd, pessimistic insiders, and a downtrending stock, you may be wondering why in God's name I would recommend watching it. Well, in October, the stock price was massively crushed after they had that negative phase data release, the original one where they released the data. Now they're going to be presenting it. But after they released the negative phase data, the stock price was absolutely beat down like a rabid dog. This ate away much of the premium that we would normally have to pay to enter this position. Now this gives us technical upward potential from current trading price at $4.12 to a little bit over $14. It's also trading near oversold on the longer term RSI, which gives us a little bit more margin for error. But moreover, because of the ever increasing amount of short positions, this stock will also be prone to a short squeeze if we see any semblance of the company turning this into some good piece of news or investors somehow figuring this as good news. And as we know, companies love to use presentations and summary events as a way to sort of bring more coverage and more investors into this part of the market. Now, a short squeeze combined with a much higher resistance level makes this stock extremely likely to be lucrative if it does actually show that there's some sort of good news. And on the other hand, if there isn't good news, which a lot of people think there's not going to be, then there really isn't that much farther that the stock can go. Now, admittedly, this is one of the more speculative plays on the list, but the thing is that just a little piece of good news, just a little bit of somebody thinking that the presentation went well or the presentation went whatever could skyrocket the stock because of the massive amount of short sellers as well as the massive discount. But I guess the real question is if ADAP will be able to spin around their failure. And with that, that's really a guessing game. And while I'm not in the business of guessing games, I am in the business of using price action and early warning signs as an indication for a reversal. So the key is watching for an upward confirmation, as well as making sure that we get in when the setup is perfect for us, technically speaking. We need to make sure we're below fair value, and we need to make sure that we have that same amount of upward potential. If the stock runs up in anticipation of this event, we may not get as good of an entry point. Now, CYTK will be presenting their phase 2 data on May 5th. They sort of had this huge run up in February and early April, and then it proved to be an overreaction, but it's still not trading below fair value. Now, I'm not going to be including CYTK in the overall count because it's technically not a penny stock. Penny stocks are anything rated below $5, or I've kind of extended the definition to mean anything that has traded under $5 within the last 3 months or so. But CYTK is absolutely not a penny stock, but I wanted to include it on this list because they will be presenting their phase 2 data on May 5th, and it's for sure worth watching. Okay, so I wanted to give you an option if you wanted to go through this yourself on how to find all these plays as well as other plays that we don't cover in these videos because there are a lot of them. So if you want to do this research yourself, all you have to do is go to biopharmacatalyst.com or biopharmcatalyst.com. I'll put a link in the description below to that website. You can go to Catalyst Calendars and you can go to the FDA calendar. This will show you, once it loads, this will show you all of the different drugs and all of the different phase trial releases that are going to be coming out in the next period or so. Now, you can organize it by catalyst date, you can organize it by stage, and whatnot. And, you know, the good thing about this is that it shows you exactly, like, if you're looking for FDA approvals or FDA trials or whatever, you can actually go through this and see all of the different drugs that are going to go through their FDA approval. See, here's NVRV that we talked about earlier, but my point is that this is a really great opportunity to go and look through everything. Some of these have FDA approvals, but they're not penny stocks, so I'm not covering them in these videos. But they're still tradable stocks if they have a spikeability factor, so that's why it's so important for you to go through these and look on your own, because you're going to be missing a lot of opportunities if you just rely solely on my videos. I can't cover everything, but I can cover, the ones that are applicable. And also the great thing is that, maybe you don't know what an NDA filing is, maybe you don't know what each phase is. You could actually go and look at the FDA calendar glossary, and they cover literally everything that you could possibly need to know, which is really great. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, if you want to know what an SNDA is, if you want to know what the advisory committee, if you want to know the dates, priority review, what the difference is between, the FDA approval date, and if it has the priority review status, does that mean it's going to go faster? Does it not mean it's going to go faster? You can go and click that, or you can go and click that, and you can read all about that. There's also the different abbreviations that you should know. And I don't know, I think this is a really cool thing to know, and it's important to do your own due diligence, and this is an easy way to do it. What I don't recommend is I don't think you need to sign up for their free trial. Or I don't think you need to sign up for anything with the website. There's no reason to pay for this information. It's all publicly available. And it's all for free on this website anyways, but I guess they do sell a membership service. That makes sense, but you don't need to do that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this guide. At the end of the day, my goal is to make you self-sufficient, so it doesn't really help me that much if you're just using my list. These are supposed to be foundational starting points for you, and eventually you won't need me. I mean, maybe you'll still be entertained and you'll come back and watch my videos, but you don't need me to be a successful trader. This is supposed to be a foundational point for you. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, don't forget to reach out to us on the ZipTrader Circle Facebook group or comment below. We also have a free Discord chat that you could reach by going to join the Facebook group and clicking the link in the top post. We have a bunch of different sections, so regardless of the type of stocks that you enjoy trading or the type of niche that you're in, you can find your community there. I also post nightly watch lists and a bunch of other things. Also, if you're having trouble learning the material or kind of keeping track of everything, I have a trading tutorials playlist that you can access by going to the ZipTrader homepage, clicking trading tutorials, and then working your way down. Anyways, have a great day, folks, and I'll see you in the next video.